Hello. This is the near-death experience of Matteo, and this experience occurred in 2004 and was documented on November 28th, 2017, and was originally translated from the French language. Open quote. My girlfriend at the time and I had been out for a tour around the lake of Basso Cambo near Toulouse. She is a good swimmer, but I swim like a stone. Each time we went near the water, she made me feel bad because I never went into the water while she adored swimming. So I forced myself to go to the water to please her. She was already far from the rim of the lake. I was walking near the side of the lake where the water hardly went up to my knees. I motioned to her that she could continue having fun swimming without worrying about me. She continued swimming because I made an effort for her. Telling myself that I had time enough before she would get back, I used the opportunity to make a few strokes along the shore. The water was cold, and I didn't feel at ease, but I forced myself to swim a bit, like an exercise. I kept telling myself that I was so close to the shore that there was no danger. After a few minutes, I felt already a bit tired of this. The water was too cold for me to feel good about trying to swim. So I decided to stop and leave the water to warm up with my towel. Unfortunately, I was unaware that I had no ground anymore at the place where I found myself at that moment. I wanted to get hold on the ground to get back to shore, but I went underwater. I never knew how to float or to float on my back without going underwater. I already had had several bad experiences in water, so I never had the desire to learn to swim. I understood that the bottom was far deeper than I thought. I struggled to try and to get my head out of the water, which I could do for a fraction of a second. I could get a breath, but not enough to get out of the water. So in a state of panic, I let myself go down, hoping to finally touch ground before the air would be out. This didn't take very long. At that moment, I needed to breathe and was wary of struggling. I started to breathe water, not a big gulp, but only a small quantity, as if it was the little part of air that my body was crying out for. I remember and will remember for the rest of my life the absurd thought that I had at that moment. Oh, I can breathe water. It's years since this NDE happened, but I still and always tell myself if I had died on this day, this would have been my last thought. So at that moment, I accepted this end without even thinking about it. I felt so good under the water. No pain anymore, no panic. I felt satisfied and free. I don't know how much time this took. For sure, less than a minute. But I was fine. I closed my eyes, naturally, like you do when you go to sleep. The experience started. The moment after I closed my eyes, I found myself floating above the water. I looked towards the water below. I was several meters above, and I think that I was looking towards my body. I had no thought at all. What shocked me the most was the silence. It was as if I felt the nature surrounding me. I looked around and saw the lake and the trees. There was no sound. I felt like I was a part of a whole, of something bigger than me, bigger than the world, something that was connecting us to the surrounding nature. I didn't think for a single second. My thoughts seemed like something else. I really couldn't explain what it was. I didn't think, but I realized everything. I realized that nature surrounded me. I realized the blow of the wind passing through me, but also as if it was a part of me. Then I realized that somebody was there, down there, at the border of the lake. A woman with the long, curled, reddish hair in a white robe. This person was on her knees in the yellow pebbles and reaching towards the water as if she wanted to help me. I didn't look at her for a very long time. Then in a second, the time to realize that she was reaching with her hand towards my body to save me. And there, I found myself back in my body, and the survival instinct let me go down until I touched the bottom. With one leap, I found myself meters away from where I was before. I left the water, vomited the water from my lungs, which was burning inside, as if I were vomiting my lung itself. I needed several breaths before I emptied everything. During the time of this pain, I forgot everything around me. Then I lifted my head towards the place where, logically, this person should be, but saw nothing. Nobody was there. I could clearly see the place, and it was how it should look from above. At the arrival, I didn't notice this corner with colored pebbles, nor while I was swimming. I only saw their color when I was floating above. Surprised, I didn't know if I had been dreaming, although for me those pebbles were proof that this was not the case. My girlfriend arrived. She had enough time to swim to the shore, wondering what happened and why I was coughing near the water. I explained to her that I had been drowning. She asked that this was impossible because drowning takes a much longer time. As of this day, I tried to tell this NDE to my friends while getting always the same reactions. They considered me nuts or making fun of me as if I had been telling a joke. I recently tried to talk about this again, but only one person accepted to believe me. Since this day, this death, I remained in relative terms the same. Of course, this experience has raised many questions such as, was this real? Was I really drowning? Who was the person that saved me? Why was I brought back? I still have no true answer for all this. It ended that I was telling myself that maybe I was dreaming this, even though for me all this was very real. If it was real, then the person that saved me could only have been my grandmother, deceased many years ago, who was watching me during years. I still can't explain why I was saved. I haven't accomplished anything that deserves being saved from death. End quote. Wow, Matteo. What an awesome story and what a dilemma that he has. And it was interesting when he talks about the silence after he closed his eyes, he was letting himself go, bam, there he was, right? And the silence and realizing that he was part of a whole, that when the wind blew, he realized he was part of the wind. And interesting maybe how the body kind of blocks that. But once we're out, we instantly are feeling differently, and then we're realizing things differently, and the silence, interesting about that. And interesting that is thinks that was his deceased grandmother that may have saved him. I wonder if she had long curly red hair. That would have been a dead giveaway. Let's see if he talks about that. And the dilemma that he has, right? When nobody really wants to believe him, and now he's starting to question himself. Maybe. I think you found a good place here, Matteo. Questions. Rating your highest level of consciousness. I have ADD without hyperactivity. I can't concentrate and can't stop thinking very fast. During this experience, I had no thoughts at all. I felt things rather than thinking about them. Question, at what time during the experience were you at your highest level of consciousness or alertness? Answer, when I was in the air. I felt everything surrounding me as if I was part of it. What an interesting feeling that must be. Question, did time seem to speed up or slow down? I had a sensation that this took a long time. I couldn't feel time anymore, as if time was almost like suspended. Question, comparing your vision. Answer, immediately before the experience, my vision was hazy due to impurities in the lake. Then I closed my eyes and found myself in the air. I saw clearly this nature, the water, and the person on the shore. Question, comparing your hearing. I heard the normal noise of the water, but once in the air, I heard nothing. It was an incomparable but soothing silence. I don't feel well in complete silence, but there, this silence was perfect. Question. Did you encounter or become aware of any deceased or alive beings? Answer, yes. The red-haired person. I'm not sure who she was. It could have reminded the Virgin Mary, but I feel sure that it was my grandmother. Question. What emotions did you feel during the experience? Answer. If I had to describe emotion, quotes, it would be nothing. I wouldn't be able to say that I felt good or bad. I was at my place. I was going to be part of this wholeness, capital W. So it was like an evidence that I had no feeling. I wouldn't be able to describe the state in which I was at the moment. I only can say afterward that I felt good there. Question. Did you suddenly seem to understand everything? Surrounding us was the wholeness, capital W, indescribable in its form. Nature was part of it. The whole universe was part of it. I was close to being part of it. I felt in harmony with nature. Question. Religious life prior? Answer, slightly important. Question. What was your religion prior? Answer, several faiths, Christian/Buddhist. Question, have your religious practices changed? Answer, no. What importance today about your religious life? Answer, moderately important. Question, what is your religion now? Answer, same. Other faiths, still Christian/Buddhist. Question, did your experience include features consistent with your earthly beliefs? Answer, not consistent. I never dared thinking about death without fearing it or without having a panic attack. Even when considering myself a Buddhist and Christian, I had the impression that there was nothing after death and that I was fooling myself. Question, did you have a change in your values and beliefs because of your experience? Answer, yes. I try to be more loving with people, even if that's enormously hard for me. I know that it is more in my nature to dislike humans. I try to pray more often if possible and would like to restart meditation as in my youth. Question, did you seem to encounter a mystical being or presence or hear an unidentifiable voice? Answer, the person at the edge of the water, red curly hair, white dress, reaching her hand towards the water. Question, during your experience, did you gain information about universal connection or oneness? Answer, yes. After death, we are a wholeness, capital W. This wholeness is at the origin of everything that exists, is, and will be. It's truly this feeling. Everything seemed so clear to me at the moment. It was an evidence. Question, did you believe in the existence of God prior to your experience? Answer, God probably does not exist. Question, during your experience, did you gain information about the existence of God? Answer, yes. Originally, I'm Christian and Buddhist, by the way. I approach the question of paradise, but this wholeness is far beyond the universal thought that Buddhism describes, and even further than the Bible describes. If I had to explain this wholeness or God or this nirvana as I sensed it at that moment, I would do a mathematical equation. Human equals a star fragment equals a fragment of the universe equals is a fragment of nature equals is a fragment of the air equals is a fragment of life equals is a fragment of God. I sensed that something was governing this wholeness, but it is indescribable. Very interesting. Question, do you believe in the existence of God after your experience? Answer, God definitely exists. Got to love that equation. Question, do you believe in an afterlife after your experience? Answer, an afterlife probably exists. Yes, I have the sensation being nothing else than energy belonging to a wholeness. This wholeness that's nature, it's the air, it's the water, it's humanity. If I knew I was going, definitely, I was joining this wholeness. Question: what life changes occurred in your life after your experience? Answer: large changes. I don't know if there's a connection, but I ended up, little by little, pulling away from the world and from people. I felt more and more like joining nature to feel in harmony with it. Before this experience, I just wanted to live in town. Since then, I'm aspiring to live in harmony with it. Shortly after the experience, I separated from my girlfriend. Something happened afterwards where I started to live as a recluse, trying to avoid people. Well, Matteo, I guess if that works for you, but being part of nature, but we already said that people were a part of nature too. So, you know? Question: was the experience difficult to express in words? Answer: yes. The sensation of being a part of a wholeness is indescribable. If I had to explain it, it would be with a kind of comparison. Just imagine an evening in good company, forgetting all your problems. Then you go outside, looking at the stars while being wrapped in a blanket. There, you look at the stars and you realize that we are tiny, that the universe is immense, and that we on Earth, seen from space, are very tiny. Imagine this feeling, but in a totally opposed way, being part of an immensity. And then you could come close to this sensation. I've said this before. I really enjoy the European NDEs that are translated. They just have a different quality of description about them because English isn't their first language. And I don't know, it's just different and unique and kind of gets another part of the point across. Maybe some of you guys agree. Question: how accurately do you remember the experience and compared to other life events that occurred around the same time? Answer: I remember it more accurately. I do not have a good memory, yet I remember very well some memories of this period of time. This NDE and the response of my friends when I told them about it. Question: do you have any psychic, non-ordinary, or other special gifts after your experience that you did not have before the experience? Answer: uncertain. Before the experience, I happened to foretell the future. I felt the things going to happen or that happened already. I even had a very clear premonitory dreams that I could tell my loved ones in detail, and the events of those dreams happened all with accuracy, word for word. Since this experience, I have the impression that everything is vanishing. I happen to have a sensation of deja vu of these dreams, but nothing as relevant as before. Question: are there one or several parts of the experience that are especially meaningful or significant to you? Answer: this person, I would have appreciated to know who she was. I didn't feel anything except this wholeness, this person that saved me, and I don't know why. Question: have you ever shared this experience with others? Answer: yes. It seemed to me that it was the next day. For the next time, I didn't dare before last year, 2016, with my father, and the last time, beginning of this year. Question: did you have any knowledge of NDEs before your experience? Answer: yes. No NDE at all could have been influencing me. I thought exactly about those that I had heard from, the people having experienced this NDE. They all talked about a tunnel and a light. I always told myself that for sure that they had been delirious and that it was their brain that invented it when returning, like a dream that takes only a fraction of a second, but of which you believe that it took hours. The NDEs of which I heard only talked about a tunnel and light, nothing to do with what I experienced. I didn't know that others had experienced this wholeness. Question: what do you believe about the reality of your experience? Answer: the yellow pebble experience was definitely real. The yellow pebbles, I really would have believed having had a dream, if I hadn't seen in detail this place where the woman was. According to my girlfriend, I must have perceived this setting out of the corner of my eye. For me, this simple zone where she reached her hand proves the reality of the experience. Nevertheless, there still remains a doubt in me. Even if this memory stayed perfectly intact with time, I'm still doubting for a single reason. Why and how did I take a memory with me? A memory isn't it on principle something belonging to the brain? So, how to create a memory that wouldn't be experienced in it? End questions, end quotes, and end story. Thank you, Matteo. Wonderful, wonderful descriptions and lots to think about. And thank you guys for listening. I hope you have a great day.